talk a little bit about electrification in the Torch Lake District. This is the source of the PCB contamination. And this is the question that is one we've been looking at fairly extensively at Michigan Tech. Where are the PCBs? Where are they coming from? Are they at higher levels than you find in Portage Lake or Lake Superior? One of the important things to know about PCBs is that they are deposited through atmospheric deposition, meaning they are in our atmosphere, they're circulating in the atmosphere from industrial activities. And so all of our water bodies in North America have some amount of PCBs in them. The thing that we have found in our research, particularly that of Dr. Urban and Dr. Perlmutter, is that we have higher levels of PCBs in our sediments, but in particular in our fish in Torch Lake, than we have at other places where it's being measured, such as Portage Lake. Another place where DEQ is measuring, I believe, or DNR is measuring it, is in the fish samples, is in at the mouth of the Huron River and in Lake Superior. So those levels are lower. We have higher levels of PCB and mercury in the fish tissue in Porch Lake. So the question is, where is it coming from? Why are these levels high, and why are they consistently being maintained at a higher level? And as many of you know, we have advisories, called fish consumption advisories, which ask us not to eat too much of the fish out of Torch Lake, particularly over a certain size, 22 to 24 inches. The walleye and the pike are not really, should not be consumed at all. And these advisories, I think most people are generally aware of them. The larger the fish, the more accumulated PCBs and mercury in the fish tissue. This is a bioaccumulation that causes this. But the source of PCBs in this district come with the electrification of the Torch Lake facilities. And this doesn't occur till later, much later in CNH's history. In 1903, they built a power plant here in Lake Linden. It was a large structure, very closely connected to the Hecla Mill right next to it. This is a blueprint from 1940. Between 1900 and 1940, CNH managed to provide power, which was produced through coal, from its main power plant. This thing is new and it jumps ahead on me really easily. Its main power plant, which is right here, it distributed power all the way over up through Calumet, Tamarack, and then all the way over to Lake Superior. Provided power for the Calumet Waterworks and the Tamarack Waterworks. This is a huge power system. This is not atypical in the large mining districts where you have a central powerhouse producing the necessary electricity for all of the facilities, very far flung. You follow this distribution line, it goes all the way up to the Cliff and the Phoenix area where CNH was doing some work earlier, not in the 1940s, I don't believe that late, but they managed to run transmission lines there. And then over to Amik, where they had a significant substation. The Tamarack Reclamation Facility is here, another substation, and then all the way down to Mason and the Quincy Reclamation Plant. CNH built the Quincy plant for the Quincy Mining Company. That plant was funded by grants and loans from the U.S. government during World War II and the Metal Reserves Company because of the strategic need for copper production. So this electrification plant by 1940 was quite extensive. It did not power the residences or the city lighting. It powered these industrial facilities. And all along the way, you have these little substations at each reclamation plant, at the one mill that's continuing to run after World War II, which is Amik Mill up in Calumet, and then over in a substation here at Tamarack for the facilities down in Lake Superior. So you have a significant system. So why PCBs? Where do they come from? In the 1930s, PCBs were introduced into electric transformers, which were very huge, sort of cylindrical structures that were in the power plant, but also in all of the substations. They were filled with an oil that had a PCB product in it. Monsanto was the only North American PCB producer. Monsanto produced PCBs in Alabama and in Missouri, and then shipped them to General Electric and Westinghouse, who built these transformers in the early to late 1930s, and almost all of North America's sort of electrical facilities began to include these transformers with PCBs in them by World War II. So it's ubiquitous throughout our electrical system to have these PCB-laden transformers. Basically, created reduced the heat that was transferred through the distribution system, prevent fires and so on as you move from powerhouse to substation to a milling facility or reclamation facility. So you have a considerably important product here for electrifying the system. And we could not have electrified this whole industrial system without PCB. So it's become a problem though. In the 1970s, I mentioned that we banned it, and EPA has supervised the sort of removal of PCBs from the landscape where they have escaped or where they've been dumped, and also ensuring that any transformers that were taken out of commission were properly disposed of.